Turo and car sharing is a world full of misinformation, and I suppose I can see why. The world of car sharing is still relatively new, and as a result, there aren't a ton of people that really understand the nuance of operating a business in this industry. So in today's video, I thought it would be a good idea to go through and address some of the 10 top misconceptions and questions that I get asked about running, starting, or managing a car sharing fleet. These are questions that I either get emailed to me, I get asked in the comments of my videos, or I get messaged to me on social media. And these questions and misconceptions are incredibly common. So let's get started. Do you need an LLC for your Turo fleet? There are technically two answers to this question. Do you need one? No, technically not. Should you have one? Yes, you probably should. Now, I am no lawyer, so I always like to tread the line lightly whenever I'm talking about LLCs and legal liability. But whenever you're running any type of business, it is always a good idea to get an LLC for that business. Doing things like getting an EIN, getting an LLC, getting a business bank account, these are all good things to have. In the case of Turo, I have been a pretty historic proponent of not getting an LLC before you actually start your Turo fleet. Get your first car, list that car on Turo, see if this is a side hustle for you, and if it is, then absolutely get an LLC. There are a ton of benefits to having this set up. It can put you in a position to finance through that LLC later on. All in all, it is a good idea to have one. Though I typically do recommend to make sure that you test the waters first before jumping into the LLC world. Though to be honest, it can't hurt getting one right from the start either. How do I, a Turo host with 25 cars, rent out older cars on Turo? So things like a 2007 Ford Focus, 2008 Ford Escape, or 2010 Toyota Yaris. And the answer to that is the Turo grandfather policy. Whenever you list a car on Turo, that car has to have 130,000 miles or less, and it has to be 12 years old or newer. But then whenever you have that car listed, it can stay on the platform for as long as you want, as long as that car is well maintained. So for example, on December 30th, 2022, I purchased a 2010 Mazda 5. I made sure to have that car listed that exact same day, about 1.5 days left until we went into 2023. And because of that, I was able to actually get that car listed, get that car rented out, and I still have that car on the platform today. But had I found that car 2 days later on January 1st or January 2nd, that car actually would have no longer qualified for Turo, and I would have been out of luck and I wouldn't have been able to purchase it or list it. So no, whenever you buy an older car that's right on the cusp of qualifying for Turo, you don't have to worry about taking it off Turo once it's over 12 years old or over 130,000 miles. As long as the car is well maintained, it can stay on the Turo platform. And that's exactly how I have cars like 2007s, 8s, 10s, and so much more in my Turo fleet. Now, before we move on to the next one, I do want to take a moment to thank the sponsor of this video, Fetch. Fetch is a peer-to-peer car sharing platform that allows for its host to list pickup trucks, cargo vans, and box trucks up to 16 feet high. With Fetch, you can list your van or truck in less than 15 minutes, making the onboarding process fast and easy, and you can scale your fleet on your own terms. There are no fleet minimums, so no matter how many vehicles you want to own, Fetch is there to support your growth. When you list your vehicle with Fetch, you get access to their robust insurance policy, which covers both liability and physical damage. And Fetch will handle rental fulfillment, so they'll actually find and vet the customers that will rent your vehicle. You can get started with Fetch today with no commitment or fees. To learn more, go to fetchtruck.com/rentmytruck and click Start Now. You can also click the link that I will have down in the description below. Thank you, Fetch, for sponsoring this video. There is no money to be made with Turo. I get this comment all the time, especially on TikTok, which is strange. People on TikTok love to say that Turo is a waste of time. There's a common belief amongst people who have never tried Turo that Turo simply isn't a lucrative side hustle and there's absolutely no money to be made. This is oftentimes paired with the idea that cars depreciate. They're simply not an asset. They can't make enough money to cover the depreciation as well as the monthly expenses. And once you account all of the expenses, it really isn't worth your time. And this, of course, can be true depending on the market, the type of car you buy, the price point you purchase the car at. There are a ton of factors that come into play to determine whether or not you are actually going to make money with Turo. But I can say with 100% certainty that if you follow the correct business model and do Turo correctly, you will absolutely make money. I personally know hosts that have hundreds of cars and they make 7 figures per year. I know others like myself who have 20, 30, 40 cars and make extremely good income. If Turo wasn't a legitimate way to make money, people just simply wouldn't do it. Because despite what you may think, renting out low-end economy cars is not my passion, and I do in fact do it to make money. Though I do like renting them out too. On a similar note is the topic of taxes within your car sharing fleet. A lot of times on my own videos, and I see them with videos with other car sharing hosts, people will comment something along the lines of, okay, you're making X amount of dollars per month, but what is that after taxes? Once you count taxes into the equation, Turo is no longer worth it. Or sure, you may make this amount, but make sure to pay the government. There is a lot of misconceptions when it comes to the relationship of Turo earnings and taxes, because believe it or not, there are a lot of deductions that you can take advantage of whenever you're a growing Turo host. The deductions may not be as strong or as well known as deductions that you could take advantage of in real estate, but they are absolutely there. So whenever you see these Turo hosts that are making 5 figures per month, you'll probably be surprised to see their tax bill. They're not paying as much in taxes as you may think. This is why I encourage every single Turo host to get a really great accountant, because they will pay for themselves time and time again. One of my top 5 most commonly asked questions that I get asked is, what is the best car for Turo? And this is a really tough question to answer, because while there are of course cars that are my favorite to purchase, I think that it's difficult to determine what is the best car to buy. Instead, I like to look at this through the lens of what is the best price to pay for a car, and is that price below market value? I know that I talk a ton on this channel about the low-end economy business model for Turo, buying economy cars that the everyday person can rent for an affordable price, and this is the business model that I've used to grow my own fleet. And so, of course, I think that this is a really great business model to try, because I have proven through myself that this is effective. And I still practice this business model today. But more important than the type of car that you buy is how much you pay for that car. If you find an exotic car that you can buy for a 30 or 40% discount, that car is going to be a better buy than something like a Kia or a Ford that you pay for an above market value price. Because at the end of the day, buying below market value is one of the most important factors in determining how successful your Turo business is going to be. Whenever I start any new venture or business, I like to think about what's going to happen in a worst case scenario. And in the case of Turo, there are a few worst case scenarios that could theoretically happen. Someone wrecks your car, you get sued. Someone kills someone or passes away themselves in your vehicle, or Turo doesn't work and you need to get rid of cars. These are, in my mind, the 4 worst case scenarios with Turo, and all of these issues can be mitigated by either reading the terms of service or buying cars at the right price. Because if you buy a car at a below market value price and you need to sell that car because Turo isn't working out, you should be able to sell that car for a profit, or at the very least a break-even price point. And in another worst case scenario, if your car is wrecked or totaled, Turo will pay you out an ACV of that car, or actual cash value, and that is based off of the averages of what your car is worth. So if you pay a below market value price for your car, you should actually be able to make money off of that total loss. But this is only possible if you buy a car at a below market value price. This is why price point is so incredibly important, and it's something that I will continue to drive home on this channel because it can't be repeated enough. So at the end of the day, I don't think that there is a single best car to buy for Turo, but I think buying one at a below market value price is a really great way to ensure your own success. Next is fees. Fees, penalties, or deposits. Every once in a while, I stumble across a listing on Turo that has a vehicle listed for rent, and in the description of that vehicle listing, there are a slew of fees and charges that the guest is going to have to pay if they break the host rules. Things like eating in the car, speeding, taking the cars to different cities or states, not cleaning the car before returning. Even requiring a deposit is something that I've seen before. But the fact of the matter is, as a Turo host, you absolutely cannot charge for any of these fees. You have to do all of your charging through Turo, and you're allowed to charge for a handful of different things like gas, tolls, smoking issues, extreme cleaning issues. But whenever it comes to these miscellaneous frivolous charges that people love to think that they can get, you just simply can't. Not only are you not able to charge the guests this, but if Turo catches wind that you have this in your vehicle listing, you are absolutely going to get kicked off Turo. BS fees are not going to work on the Turo platform, so there's no use in even trying. And if you choose to make the decision to list these types of fees in your Turo listing, well, I think that your time on Turo may be a bit limited. Of course, we can't make a video talking about common misconceptions and questions with Turo without addressing the biggest question of them all, which is insurance. Insurance is so confusing whenever it comes to Turo, and this is definitely a topic that I get asked about every single day. I probably could make a series of videos just talking about different types of insurance. But it is tricky because insurance is definitely one of those lofty areas where you don't want to go into too much debt for legal and liability reasons, which is why for the most part I sort of steer clear of this topic on YouTube. The short answer though, if you're a Turo host, you absolutely have to have your cars insured. It doesn't matter if you have Turo protection packages, you still have to have insurance yourself, either through a personal policy or a commercial policy. Now, if you were to ask a lawyer what type of policy you should have for your vehicles, they would without a doubt say that you should have a Turo-friendly commercial policy in place. That is what I have with my own vehicles. I'm insured through ABI-X, which is an insurance policy specifically designed for Turo hosts. But there is an alternative company named Lula, which is an incredible solution. I have a link down in the description below if you want to check them out, and they are another great option as well. But whenever hosts are getting started, there are a lot of hosts that opt to just simply go with their personal insurance and cross their fingers and hope that nothing goes wrong. I think in general, this is probably a bad idea, and it's something that does carry a lot more risk. But I'm certainly not going to tell you what you should or should not do with insurance. I can only tell you that I myself have commercial, and I think that that is definitely the way to go. ABI-X or Lula are really great options to explore. How do I store my cars? This is another question that I get asked all the time, and I think people ask it with the understanding that I am storing all 25 cars at once, which isn't the case. I rent 4 parking spaces from a commercial retail center that's in my area. I pay $200 for these spaces, and that's where not only I store the cars that aren't getting rented, but it's also where I do all of my key exchanges. But I know of a lot of hosts that do this from their house. They do it from a hotel parking lot, from a Walmart parking lot, from a mall. There are a lot of different ways that you can go about doing this, and a lot of them are free. You just have to be strategic and careful about how long you keep your cars there. The thing with Turo and parking is that you don't actually need to have a place to store all of your vehicles. With my 25 car fleet, we keep only 4 spaces, and that has been plenty. Occasionally, whenever there is a slow period of time, we will have to move some cars to our house, but for the most part, this isn't an ongoing issue, and we've been pretty content with our 4 spaces for the last few years, and we probably will be fine with 4 spaces until we get to 30 or 35 cars. You only need to store your cars in between rentals, and you need to have a place where a guest can go to not only pick up the car, but to also drop it off. It is a good idea to have this place be in a safe area, have it be well lit, and of course, easy to find. Like I mentioned a moment ago, a lot of people do this from their house. I personally advise against this for safety concerns. I don't want the guests to know where I live, and I certainly don't want guests coming to and from my house at 2 o'clock in the morning for the sake of being a good neighbor. You'd be surprised at how easy it is to find some solid parking once you begin looking for it. Turo isn't worth it. They screwed me over. I lost money. The car lost value. The list goes on and on. This is another comment that I see every single day without fail. People talk about trying Turo and then they lost a bunch of money. Their car was wrecked and Turo didn't cover it. They ended up selling their car and lost their shirt in depreciation. There are a lot of things that can potentially go wrong whenever you're running a Turo fleet, or even just running a couple of cars on Turo. But like I mentioned earlier, a lot of things that could go wrong can be mitigated or eliminated entirely by simply reading the terms of service and buying cars at the right price. In my experience, Turo failure really comes down to 3 key things. Number 1, buying the wrong car for your market. Number 2, buying a car at the wrong price. And number 3, not following the terms of service. For some people, they can do all of these things correctly and still find that Turo isn't for them. But I wouldn't necessarily consider that a failure. I would instead consider that a pivot. But whenever it comes to true Turo failures, whenever people walk away losing money or leaving with a bad taste in their mouth, it is 99.9% of the time because of one of these 3 things. If you buy the right car at the right price and you follow the terms of service, I can almost guarantee you that you will be successful. Do I have an accountant and do I keep track of my expenses? Yes and yes. I absolutely do keep track of all of my expenses. I have a separate business account, we have separate business credit cards, and we keep track of everything through QuickBooks. We not only have an accountant, but we also have a bookkeeper, and this is through a firm that specializes in the gig economy and Turo and side hustles. I absolutely love my accounting group. They are a bit pricey, but in my opinion, I think it is well worth it. If you're looking for an accountant referral, you can shoot me a message on Instagram and I would be happy to point you in the right direction. You are committing insurance fraud. This is weirdly enough an accusation that I get thrown my way more often than you would think, and more often recently because of a video that I recently posted on TikTok. A couple of days ago, I posted a video on TikTok talking about damage that was done to my Honda Civic. Long story short, one of my Turo guests was rear-ended by somebody on the street. She collected their insurance information, and I not only filed a claim through Turo, but I also filed a claim through the third-party insurance. The way that Turo insurance works is you actually get 20 days to work out your insurance claim with the guest. And if you're not able to settle with the guest within 20 days, you can actually tap Turo in and they will handle the claim for you from then on out. More often than not, whenever I have damage onto my vehicles, I will just go directly with Turo. But in this case, the insurance claim was relatively clear-cut. My guest was rear-ended. She got the insurance information, the driver's license. So I decided that I would try to work this claim out directly with the guest, give myself 20 days ways to contact this third-party insurance to see if I could settle directly with the insurance company rather than with Turo. In this video, HP mentioned how we're going to end up making money from this claim. And that seemed to trigger a lot of people because we got a slew of comments talking about how we just admitted to insurance fraud on the internet, how we can't make money off of insurance claims, how insurance is actually designed to make you whole, not allow you to profit from it, as well as a slew of other untrue comments. Filing a valid insurance claim on a vehicle that has been damaged by a different person and then collecting money for that damage and paying less to fix that car and thus making a profit off of the claim is not insurance fraud. Lying about damage done to your vehicle for the sake of collecting money from a damaged claim is insurance fraud. These two things are very, very different. We do the first one often, we do the second one never. I think that this is important for everyone to know, whether you do Turo or not. Having your car in an accident or getting your car damaged and collecting money from insurance, you are in no way obligated to spend all of that money on fixing your car. If you have the time, energy, and resources to fix that car for a cheaper price and you can make a profit off of the damage that was done onto your car, you are more than allowed to do that. In fact, there is nothing saying that you have to fix that damage at all, especially if you're not renting your car out on Turo and it's just your personal vehicle. There's a difference between being cheap with damage claims and being cost-effective with damage claims. And whenever HP and I work through damage claims with our vehicles, whether our Turo cars or our personal cars, we definitely take the cost-effective approach. We don't want to skip corners and do a shoddy job at it, but we do want to make sure that we are being as cost-effective as possible. And so because of this, we'll buy parts through companies that we have corporate accounts with. We'll try to see if we can find body panels that are in good condition from junkyards. We'll buy things on eBay or buy things secondhand. This is something that is extremely common for us to do, and as long as these repairs are done properly, there's nothing wrong with it. So in the case of this Honda Civic, I'm hoping that we can get paid out between $1,000 and $1,200 from the third-party insurance. We'll be able to go and find a third-party bumper and we'll be able to make a few $100 profit. You don't always have to go to a shop to get your car fixed, especially if you have the ability to do it yourself. The one time HP and I do not do this is if it does come to a safety concern. If something is cosmetic, we will fix it ourselves nearly 100% of the time. But once things can become a safety issue, that's whenever we really start to lean on the pros and we actually go to a shop to get it fixed. Because at that point, being cost effective simply isn't worth it. So you need to make sure to weigh out the pros and cons and find a solution that works best for you and your specific scenario. But at the end of the day, profiting off of a damage claim is definitely not insurance fraud, even if people like to think it is. And knowing what you can or cannot do whenever your own car is damaged is an important thing to learn. But like always, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it, so make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.